Greetings, riders! Welcome. This is the first episode of the EUC and Safety Week 2022. I'm super excited to have Jesse for this first episode from Pevra. And
Hey
then
everybody.
um, I this came. It's been a while now. We've been talking about organizing this week, and we have a lot of people that have been replying positively to coming and be a part of this event. So thank you so much. We have Jesse from Pevra.
Thank
Please,
you. Thank you for having me, Euro.
I would love you to introduce yourself and then to tell us more about Pevra. And we're gonna have an hour about, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. We'll see. And then we're gonna talk a lot about safety today, and we're gonna talk about also about the community. I think that's the goal today.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me today, Euro. Hi everybody. I'm Jesse from Pevra. A UC rider since 2016, actually November 2015, if we go strictly by the calendar. Electric unicycles and personal electric vehicles bring a lot of joy to my life and a lot of other lives. And they make a lot of sense in today's transportation ecosystem, both from an environmental and from a resource scarcity perspective. When I became enamored with electric unicycles, actually it goes back many years, many decades before that. I'm an urban city dweller. I've always been looking for a way to convey myself safely around our small city here in San Francisco without having to drive a car and without having to resort to public transportation, which is an amazing resource, but what we find is that neither cars nor public transportation provide the appropriate amount of transportation equity. In other words, being able to empower citizens to get where they need to when they need to. And Yora, if I could take a second, I realized that my poster just fell
No
off of
worries,
the...
no worries. So I mean,
These things happen in real time, so
but this what is amazing is always what people always ask me is like, do you ever fall? And I'm like, of course.
right.
But it doesn't
Yes,
matter. You fall, and then you stand, you go back, you fall nine. That's what I tell them. You fall 9 times, and then the important is that you wake up 10.
that's
So
right.
the,
That's right.
the
That's
perfect
right.
benchmark for us. If this poster is going to fall 9 times during the
You
interview, 10 times, and it will be there at the end.
bet that's actually going to end up being the best part of the video right there, I'm sure.
So where did your idea of there we go, number two.
There it is. All right. Well, so far, so much for that. I'll see if I can take one more crack at it quickly here. Just give me one more second.
Take your time.
Yeah,
And
you were right. I had to put it the other way.
after that, and then take your time to answer. But my
Of
question
course.
is going to be, what was your motivation? What was the main
Yeah.
from creating?
One more, please. One more, please.
Yeah, take your time.
Yes, the main motivation for creating Pevra.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I will get to that quickly. I promise.
There's a smile. I got
There she goes. Miles is the real hero. Makes it all happen behind the scenes. Okay. All right. If that falls now, we'll deal with it. Okay. Okay. So
always edit this. It's the beauty.
or not. Like I say, it makes entertaining.
It makes it to the end. So yeah, what was the trigger? How did you decided to create Pevra?
Yeah. We decided to create Pevra because we realized that the community needs a voice for safety, legality, and inclusion of personal electric vehicles in our infrastructure. I mean, that means our streets, our trails, our roads, everything that incidentally you and I pay taxes for to maintain and to create. And not only do we deserve a place in that infrastructure, we are much less demanding on that infrastructure. If you and I were to drive our 18-wheel big rig trucks down the road, those trucks are doing a lot more damage to the pavement, to the infrastructure, that our single wheel electric unicycle is, that barely weighs anything more than a human being, right? It's our EUCs weigh about 100 pounds now, so it's like if you or me gained 100 pounds, we'd still be able to walk around, and we wouldn't cause any more damage to the pavement or the streets. than we do just walking around. So we truly believe that personal electric vehicles are part of the future transportation matrix. It's time to shed these thousands of pounds of plastic and metal that are most of the time completely unnecessary. When we are just transporting ourselves as individuals, we just need to get somewhere and get back and do so safely and comfortably. And that's one of the things that we believe personal electric vehicles like electric unicycles, EUCs, are uniquely positioned to do.
Great. And how far have you been able to reach so far? I know you're very well implanted in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I know there is a member and a chapter in Portland.
Yes, yes. Pevra was formed in 2018. We're a membership organization, so our training and advocacy activities are funded by you, our members. We have members around the world, as we like to say. I don't know how many countries we're up to, but we're certainly reach outside the United States. Our primary base is here in California. We're based here in San Francisco. But we have members, again, I'd have to go back and check, but in many US states and all the major riding cities up in Portland. Of course, we have a chapter that was just formed. We are looking to form chapters in your area. So if anyone is interested in heading up or being involved with a local Pevra chapter, please reach out to us. So we're happy to get you involved.
I don't think we mentioned it, but
Yeah.
what does Pevra stand for?
Yeah, of course. So Personal Electric Vehicle Riders Association, Pevra.
That's simple. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
think
us.
people identify themselves as as being a Pevra, and we are both UC riders, but I don't think that this is just for electric unicycles. I think
Right.
association is as a wider goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, personal electric vehicles spans everything with a motor and a battery attached to it designed to carry one person. So, or maybe one and a kid or something as e-bikes are evolving into. But yeah, a way to convey yourself on an electric powered vehicle with a motor and a battery.
Awesome. How many members as of today?
I don't have our membership counts in front of us. We were coming up on 200 last time that I checked. So we are always looking to grow. And if you do want to join, you can go to pevra.org, pevra.org/join Pevra today and sign up for a membership. We always appreciate it.
Great. So we were, just we started, and speaking of that beautiful poster that you have, I believe that you have an event coming up.
Yes, thank you very much, Yoro. Westwheel 5, the fifth iteration of our annual riding event held here on the west coast of the United States. Last year was Westwheel 4 in San Francisco. This year, August 9th to 14th, in Portland and Vancouver is Westwheel 5. So very excited to bring this riding event to the Northwest community. We'll include riding, trail riding, some jumping events with local celebrities and
Lucky
uh,
in Portland to have
riders. That's right.
some celebrities. And then is it going to be a race or just a showcase, just a meetup?
Yeah, so Westwheel is not a racing event, not a competitive event, but it is a meetup. It is designed to accommodate riders of different skill sets, of different interests. This is not about going 90 miles an hour down the street. This is about enjoying ourselves, showcasing the fun and the safety that's associated with PEV.
Awesome. Yeah. It's going to be going to start on Friday. So Friday we have the
Yeah,
Friday night ride in Portland.
that's
So
right.
that's going to be pretty amazing. And particularly in the summer, this ride is absolutely fabulous. If you can join any Friday night ride from now on to whole summer, it's absolutely a huge community of all PEVs that is getting
Yes.
together. And super exciting events happening weekly over there. And we should bring us to the main topic
Yeah.
of today's meeting. And so I'm medical. I have medical training. So I work in trauma center,
Okay.
and I'm very familiar with brain trauma, spine trauma, and I'm very familiar with basically level one trauma events.
Sure.
And we always tell ourselves that, hey, the beautiful days are coming. June uh, is here, and from from this time of the year until September, in trauma center we call it trauma season. This is the time that we carry our pager, and then we pretty much know that the pager will go off at any time of the day and night for an emergency. And we know that trauma season is it's eventful, full of event always. And For professional in a medical field, it's usually not happy event. It's not usually not good. So I this year, especially this year, I was thinking that we have so much new writers
Yeah.
from the the first that was the first element. A lot of new writers. Second element, we have a lot of new power wheel, and then third, we have a lot of hype, a lot of people that were doing this, that have been doing this for a very long time, that create the hype, and that don't necessarily have the safety background that some other discipline have, because they are pioneers, and it's normal, they are pioneers in the field. So when I saw this feature, I was like, this is the perfect storm coming for 2022, the perfect storm coming for the EV and the EUC community, for major uh, negative events. I'm not, yeah. So I said, I got to do something. I got to do something about it. I'm a professional in the healthcare system. I know what's coming, and I want to do something. I want to save lives. I want to do something before anything bad happen. I want to try to um, make this safety week. I mean, probably going to be more than a week. It's going to be, spread and then apart, and then many days, and then invite the people in the community that have the experience, that have the knowledge, really to give us the good advice, and then give us also the good, all the good advice, so we can ride safe, we can go home safe, we can all have make convey a positive image within and outside of the community, of some people that are responsible, because those machines right here have a lot of power. They have, and they need to be respected in a certain way. And if you don't respect them, then they'll get back at you very quick. So I'm kind of dramatic, and I apologize for being so dramatic. I realize that I can be very dramatic, but at the same time, like I said, when something really bad happened and somebody would get a spine trauma or a brain trauma, I would be the person in a operating room trying to fix that person. I'm not a surgeon, but I do what we call neurophysiology. I'm an intraoperative neurophysiologist.
Okay.
So I would be the person who basically check on all the motor and sensory function while we're trying to repair that spine.
Got it.
So I have lived through that, and I know there is no way back. The brain and the spines are the two parts that we cannot fix, and those two parts are not fixable. We have a broken arm, we can fix it. Broken leg, we can fix it. It takes times. It takes a long time, but those parts, that's it. Once and done. So that's why I would like to, yeah, I would like to ask and learn and know and spread also the information on how to better survive, and not only survive but enjoy our EUC sport.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for bringing this really to the forefront. You apologized for being dramatic about this, and I don't think there's any need to apologize. In fact, I think drama is something that might get people's attention and might put this issue in front of people as where safety needs to be our very top priority. Um, so, yeah, few things to unpack there. First of all, um, this is a dangerous activity. The act of riding an electric unicycle on a road, on a trail, on a street, anywhere, is going to bring along with it some risk. And one of the ways that we prepare and manage risk is through our own preparation, through our safety gear, through our equipment, but also through our skills. And it is part of the paradox of the electric unicycle that it is this sort of impossibility puzzle that we all receive this rush of euphoria when we learn how to do. And we suddenly unlock a skill that we didn't have. And now we do. And not only is it a new skill, it's a really cool new skill, one that lets us go places, lets us go fast, lets us do things that our normal bodies cannot do. I've heard it described as a superpower by some, and it certainly can feel that way. When I get across town here in San Francisco in 15 minutes, when it could take a car 45 minutes, you could say that's a superpower. But what is the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. And unfortunately, this superpower that we're all able to acquire sometimes comes a little bit too easily, and sometimes comes before riders are able to accumulate the experience and the skills necessary to control themselves, to interact with the public, and to, as you said, provide a positive image of this silly little hobby that we all enjoy. It was really at the core of starting Pevra was the need to emphasize safety in everything that we do, and the risk taking nature of the activity, the rush of excitement that we get when we learn how to do it. And we're not all equipped with the same set of skills coming into what we do. Some of us, like myself, like you or others perhaps, we've kind of grown up in urban settings, riding bicycles, maybe other types of transportation, interacting with traffic in ways that we realize can be a danger to ourselves. And I'm putting aside for now one of the big concerns of Pevra, which is cars and the danger that they represent to us all and to society, to pedestrians, to bicyclists, to PEV riders. For now, I'm going to focus on the responsibility that we need to take as individual riders, because we can blame a lot on the cars and the road and the wheel and everything else that could go wrong. But I want to start this conversation with what we have control over, which is our own responsibility, our sense of preparation, the skills that we develop, the ways we seek to educate ourselves. And that's at another real tenet of Pevra's mission, which is training, to train new riders how to begin their journey responsibly. And I'm really excited. We're going to be able to announce, starting at Westwheel 5, a set of advanced training exercises that will include things like traffic safety, that will include things like evasive action, that will include some of the skills that, as these wheels get faster and more capable, we believe more riders need to focus on. So that's where we want to focus some of our training efforts.
So I have prepared a few questions for
Sure.
you, and then I want to start with basic equipment.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, what are like the most important pieces of equipment that people needs really to focus on? And I know that we say that everything is important. I got all gear
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
But what piece of equipment, and particularly for you, why those pieces
Yeah.
of equipment, and then why you choose those piece of equipment to protect yourself?
That's a really good question. I'll make it really simple. To me, it's helmet and gloves. Helmet and gloves are two things I will not ride 2 feet outside of my house with, and I don't recommend anybody do that. As liberating as it is to feel the wind through your face and your hair, well, not an issue for me, but the use of helmet and gloves are absolutely essential. There is no fall that you will ever take in which your hands and your head especially don't need to be protected. You see behind me, I've got a few different helmets. I've got more of them will fit up there. I've
That's
got big ones, small
what
ones.
helmet do you ride? What
What's
helmet?
that?
What is your helmet? Can you show? May I see your
Oh,
helmet?
oh yeah, yeah. Actually, so well, to give you a little helmet tour there. So I've got on this side, I've got the TSG Pass. That is kind of an all-purpose single, fixed full face helmet. That had been my daily rider. I've since changed that. I've got a 790p, a BMX style helmet, more for summertime riding. This one on the right is actually my a motorcycle helmet that I use for more distance rides and speed rides where I need to make sure that there are risks around me that I need to be protected against. And not shown off camera is actually the helmet that I wear every day. It's a Roof Desmo modular helmet that is basically a motorcycle helmet that I use for riding daily here in San Francisco.
So gloves. You mentioned
Yeah,
gloves. So
yeah.
do you say like any kind of gloves, or the one with the wrist guard, or is what kind of glove do you use?
Yeah, so my personal choice of glove, I wear an EVS wrister glove that includes hyperextension for wrist impacts. It also includes some protection for the palm. It's also a full fingered glove. I have found if you leave any portion of skin on your hands exposed, guess where you're gonna hurt when
I've
you fall?
noticed.
Yeah,
I've
it's
noticed
amazing. It just
how fingers, any type of, yeah, every time people show their fingers after cutouts on everything, and then their fingers show this like nine out of 10. They have bloody fingers. So yeah,
yeah,
I fully agree with that. That that gloves are and interestingly, a lot of riders do not wear full gloves. I mean,
Right.
most of them wear wrist guards,
Yeah.
but full gloves,
Yeah.
it's not. And I think that's, because a lot of people use their electronics. They I've heard a lot of complaint about being able to put on and on their helmet. It's not
Yeah.
easy with gloves and everything.
Yeah.
And yet they are meant. I mean, most helmets. I know that the TSG, you can totally, take it with a D-ring, take it on and off with gloves, but people just don't know how to do that with gloves.
Yeah,
So
I do. I tend to adapt the D rings to quick release for my helmets. They're
that's one
kits that you can
solution.
buy really cheap.
Yeah, yeah.
And what also makes it really hard to take off your helmet is when you have a cast and you have a broken wrist, which is the main reason that I wear wrist protection. I've broken both wrists riding,
Oh,
some through my
maybe
own
we.
actions, some through hit and run drivers who
Wow,
sent me to the hospital. So yeah,
wow.
wrist protection, gloves with wrist protection. The other thing that I actually put on the second that I wake up in the morning is my knee guards. I don't know if you can see under here, but
I can see you have the dual axis on there.
I've got Liat dual axis under there. I ride. I commute to work.
I recognize
I'm
the.
liable to work go to ride at any time of the day, so I always have them on.
I see you have the bubble beat. The
Yes, yes, yes. The Bobblebee. It's a comfortable backpack for distance rides. I've been doing some longer riding, and it also provides impact protection from crashes from the rear or from
Falling
impacts
from
where you
the back.
fall over
I was
backward.
impressed when I saw the C rating for those bags when
Yeah,
the protection that they offer. If you ever impact on your bag, they have an amazing C rating on that.
yeah.
That's a good protection.
We need
Um,
all the help we can get.
but I tell, one thing I say is that
Yeah,
gear gives you 7 lives.
yeah,
It's kind of the cats thing. It's like when you have gears, then you can, I had also crashes and significant impacts,
yeah.
and that's how I felt every time that I was able to walk out, and every time it's like, wow, my gear give me another life. So I think I have 5 more to go.
Keep going. And the last thing I do wear when I ride is I wear hard shell elbows on both elbows. I'm wearing some light Fox Racing pads now. I also wear 888 exo skins if I want something a little lower profile.
do you wear do you wear anything for your hips?
I when I'm trail riding or jumping, hip protection and butt protection. Yes, both of those.
Yeah, same. Pretty much everything you mentioned, different brand. I think it's important that you feel comfortable in the gear that you wear, and
Right.
so that's why I think that we are lucky to have the choice of several variation in all those pads and protection. So it's so important to really feel comfortable in your gear. Because I don't think if you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to wear them basically.
Exactly.
And then if you feel comfortable, then you're more inclined to just like, hey, put them on and quickly and just get out with it. Uh,
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say about gear is, there's a lot of different ways to wear it, a lot of different ways to present ourselves. I personally prefer a lower profile view to my gear. I like to wear it under my pants, under my jackets, as opposed to having an armored or kind of tactical look. I find some people are intimidated by that look, where we're suddenly all helmeted
I
in
get that.
black and we've got
Yeah.
SWAT jackets on. But I will also say there's an opposite phenomena that sometimes when people see me, they don't know that I'm wearing gear, so they don't know that I'm taking steps to protect myself. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I am and that you should too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good point. It's a good point that, and it's interesting because I think exactly the same. It's on one hand, you're showing people that you're geared up and that you're very taking your safety seriously, and on the other, and then at the same time, it give you that RoboCop look. I get that
Yeah,
remark like pretty
yeah,
much every time my gear is exposed,
yeah.
and then at the same times, the low profile where you can cover everything and don't have that very tactical look is also nice, but you don't show as much consciousness.
Right, right, right. So there's this phenomena that when you're good at something, you make it look easy, and people think it is easy, and it's not. So protecting ourselves is something we need to do every time we ride and take it seriously.
Awesome. So next chapter that I really want to talk to you about is riders etiquette.
Yeah,
And riders, I know you organize group rides,
yeah,
and I know that a lot of people, group rides is kind of the first uh, time that they are in contact with the community, even with other PEVs.
Yeah.
and we have a lot of group rides have brought a lot of people into the sports. Some people would not have done PEVs if it were not for group rides. It's because hey, my friends are going, friends are here, and there it's group rides are absolutely amazing. It's really it's I mean, if you get excited by riding by yourself, wait until you get to ride with five other PV with you. It's just
Yeah.
a
Or
whole
50.
other level. But
Yeah.
at the same time, those those group rides, I think, have a different. I mean, there's a different perspective of
Yeah.
riding with a whole group of people. And I was, I wanted you to talk to us more about that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Group rides have been a part of EUC and PEV culture since the time that I started riding back in 2015, 2016. One of the first things that I did was seek out a group of people just as crazy as me to be out there riding around on electric unicycles in 2016. And we were going 10, 15 miles an hour at the time for maybe 10, 15, 20 miles. And it was great. And it was something that gave us that sense of kinship and gave us the sense that we were part of a group. And group rides have been part of other types of cultures for a long time, including motorcycles and bicycles. So the way things have evolved, group rides can be a place where we can get together and showcase our skills. It can also be a place where sometimes a new rider comes in and they want to show off what they themselves can do, and maybe they're a little too eager to take some risks or get out in front of the group or not exercise the kind of caution that we really need to on group rides. The fact of the matter is, when we are on group rides, there are extra things that we need to take into mind as far as our safety. Not only is it just the safety of us as an individual, there's the safety of the group, the context that we are in. And there's different cultures to group rides in different cities and countries, really around the world. I've been fortunate enough to participate in group rides here in the United States, in really from New York to Los Angeles to Portland, here in the Bay Area, Las Vegas, a few other places. And really, every group ride has its own culture. If I had one piece of advice for new riders joining a group ride, it's to, first of all, make friends with somebody at that meetup who has done the group ride before and watch them and watch how they engage the rest of the group and the kind of behaviors that they deem are appropriate and safe. And every group has its own sense of communication too. Hand signals. I know in the Bay Area we use a slightly different set of hand signals from you guys up in Portland, and I had to, when I visited last month, I was getting some translations of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So up here, down here, when we do this, that means let's go. Um, in Portland, I believe this means we're going to pull over. So that's one case where it's exactly the opposite. But that kind of communication is really important in a group ride too.
Asking for the hand signals, what hand signals use. That's a great advice.
Hand signals,
Yeah.
learn what the group does.
Mhm.
And don't you're not going to come in and change things the very first ride that you're on. That's not your role. Your role is to participate as part of this group activity, not to showcase yourself and how amazing you are. We'll get to that and we'll get a chance to see that. And these group rides do allow us all an opportunity to maximize our fun. But first, we have a responsibility to the community, and we need to take that seriously.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that's fine. Like what you said, like finding someone that know the ride is that the excellent advice. Find someone that did the ride, that know the ride. Ask them where the stop's going to be, and ask them also where the pothole going to be, because
Yeah,
where the difficult part of the ride is going to be, and that's something I remember now that you mentioned it. That was like I when I first did the FNR, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I was just following, trying to find things out, and just learning little by little. But then when I knew the ride, because I've done it so many times after that, and then I met new riders, I would tell them, hey, this is the part that careful, because there is the road is bad at that level.
yeah,
Yeah, watch out. Just take your time at that level, and then this is the part also we're gonna stop, and that's what you expect. And I was kind of proactive in that way. And I think that as a new rider, when you start a ride, if you can find out those informations, that's really going to make a big difference in your ride. The other thing that I want to mention about group ride is
yeah,
I have not seen it. I think it's very rare that I've maybe this winter, because winter only the hardcore people and the people that are used to that just showed up.
right.
But other than that, I've never seen a group ride without incident. I've never seen a group ride without,
Mm,
because there is so many moving parts,
yeah,
so many different skills level,
yeah,
and also people tend to be intoxicated in group ride.
sure.
So I've never seen a group ride with no incidents, and so that's what I'm always wondering, if it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. So being on the lookout, being on the watching out for danger at all time, because those, it takes not even half a second for the things to go south. So I think, and it's interesting because there is a great sense of safety from riding with people. Way more than when you ride by yourself. But at the same time, because in particular with the cars and the traffic, because when you ride in a pack, you're protected, way more protected from that.
Yeah,
But I want to say that the danger comes from within,
sure.
way more than from without.
Yeah, the group ride risk is often the call coming from inside the house, right? And but we can each take responsibility. We talked about new riders seeking out somebody experienced. Well, for those of us who are experienced, when we see somebody new, and introduce yourself and have that conversation. For all that we do, all that this community is about what we ride, it's also about the relationships that we form together and looking out for each other, letting us know that we're concerned, but
Absolutely.
also that we're watching and that we are
Absolutely.
engaged. I mean, we've all been on group rides where there have been incidents, and I'm sorry to hear they're as common as they are. But we all need to take steps and being responsible for our own safety, being responsible for the group, and understanding the way that this group is going to ride. Look, if you ride in a group that absolutely stops and waits at every stop sign, you got to know that because the group is going to stop. If you're a group that looks for the intersections to be clear and then directs traffic through them, that's another approach. There are lots of different approaches, and you need to understand that before you go out and go gung ho.
Yeah, I've unfortunately same. I don't want to be too dramatic, but it's very rare that I've seen a group ride with I mean,
Yeah,
with absolutely no incidents.
yeah, yeah,
The majority of the group ride, I mean, the overwhelming majority of the group ride are just. I mean, everybody go home safe. That's not. I'm not
yes,
something dramatic happen every time, but everybody goes home safe. But there is always a fall. There is always something happening that has no consequences. Fortunately,
yeah,
that's something to be aware of, is
right,
is particularly the Friday night ride, because it's the end of the week. Everybody had a long week.
yeah,
There's a lot of new people. There's a lot of people that just, hey, it's Friday night, let's party.
yeah,
And that's when you have to be the more aware, and watching. And that's also something that I really love to hear from you,
yeah,
is how people watch for each other in those
yeah,
group ride.
yeah,
And then don't feel offended if somebody is watching out for you, like says, hey, I'm watching out for you, like you're doing something that might not, even if you feel safe, that person besides you, might not feel safe. And I've seen that, like people
yeah,
like says, like kind of calling each other out, says, hey, that
yes,
person besides you don't. So it's kind of also, like you mentioned, it really linked us, like really, like, oh, this a lot of people have been, like, particularly when I first started, a lot of people I watch for me, watch for my back, watch
yeah,
for everything. Like they were like coming and says, "Hey, Euro, I don't think you're doing this right,"
yeah, yeah.
and and with time, I'm like, I cannot be more thankful that I had those experienced riders just showing me the way. So yeah,
Yeah, very important for a community to keep itself in check and to have those kind of conversations. I mean, I believe very strongly in kind of a overall philosophy that you praise in public, and in private, that's where you deal with the issues that need to be dealt with. So I won't call somebody out in public, but I will pull them aside and I will say, hey, we saw this and this is how we do things. And if it continues to happen, people find themselves, on the outside of groups as opposed to inside, because they can't be a part of a community in a safe and inclusive way.
that yeah, I've seen that people not being as well accepted because they were having behavior that were fair, that were where other people would feel uncomfortable around. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's important for groups to have leadership that will step up and do that. It's one of the roles of, even the kind of informal leadership structure that all of our groups have. to be able to say, look, these are our limits and these are our lines. You know, we had to have some very serious conversations down here in San Francisco with our riding groups, and you know, we've had a number of incidents. You know, we had a rider killed in traffic on a solo ride last week,
Last week,
and that
yeah.
was devastating, and that crushed our community. I knew Kevin personally. I rode with him 2 days earlier. I mean, these are very real situations, and we need to be able to have honest conversations with each other about staying alive, staying safe. Look, I've taken way too many trips to the hospital, myself and for other riders. Some things are out of your hands. Some things are in our hands. We need to seize control of the things that we can control and be the safest that we possibly can be.
So I want to switch a little bit off topic,
Yeah.
and so we're just talking about etiquettes and writing in group. But
Yeah.
now I would like to talk because you mentioned also that we have to train ourselves. So I would like to ask you, what are the main steps, that training steps that a rider can take to make himself safer on the road? Is it, I mean, I know it's like emergency braking, but how do you train for emergency braking? um, uh, Not being in blind spot of the car. What are the blind spot of the cars?
Right.
Um, you know, um, uh, Keep up with traffic. I think it's important to be able to keep up with traffic,
Yeah.
to be able, not to put yourself in a pocket, in a very hard pocket where we'll have
Right.
defensive riding. So this is more like the training part. What can you do on your part just to make yourself competitive so
Yeah.
you can survive whatever environment is presented to you?
Really great question. So let's start right at the beginning. The very first thing that you need to be able to do if you are learning to ride a unicycle and maybe you've gotten on and you're cruising around and you're starting to feel a little bit of speed, you need to be able to get on and off safely and predictably every time without issue. Do not think that you are ready to ride in any sort of a mixed traffic or pedestrian situation if you cannot safely get on and get off of your unicycle without holding a pole or holding a sign. The mount and dismount is the absolute first step to safe riding in any situation other than you out there by yourself learning how to do this. So that's step number one.
And I would add both sides.
Yeah, yeah. Well, many of us find that we have a dominant leg,
Yeah.
and the leg that we use to step on and off is usually our weak leg, and the leg that is usually our dominant leg is one that stays on. Really excellent advice to be able to do that with both
Both
feet.
sides.
Remember, when you're getting off and on your unicycle, you're actually riding with one leg for a very short period of time. So one of the best things you can do to actually build those skills beyond just a basic level is to train yourself riding on one leg for a half a second, then a second, then 2 seconds, and really be able to do that with both legs. Yeah, that's really great advice. The second thing, and you alluded to this already, is has to do with speed. You should be going a speed appropriate to the type of traffic that you're riding with. One of the beautiful things about electric unicycles is they are capable of being ridden under control at speeds from 1 mile an hour up. When you are riding in a bike lane, your speed should be appropriate to bicycle traffic. And in our community, that's around 15 to 20 miles per hour. If you are riding in a mixed pedestrian or other sort of traffic situation that is not a bike lane, where there are people walking, that is a 5 mile an hour or a 2 mile an hour situation. That brings me to my next point, which is being able to ride slowly, safely, and under control is far more difficult and more important than being able to ride fast. Let's all dial down the speed and get ourselves able to control our vehicles at walking speeds. One of the great things about learning electric unicycles 5, 6, 7 years ago is they weren't very fast. And we used them on the sidewalk because that's how fast that they went. And being able to control your vehicle at walking speeds is an essential safety skill, and it's where we should start, not where we should end up.
How do you train for emergency braking?
Really great question. So that's one step at a time. The very first thing that we learn is we learn how to go, right? And that's what makes this fun. But the more important part of this process is learning how to stop and being able to stop faster and faster at higher and higher speeds should be part of your training regimen. There are techniques involved in learning how to brake an emergency brake. We Many of us use what's called a sitting technique, where when you're emergency braking, you are actually forming your body as though you are sitting down in a chair behind your wheel. There's some pretty dramatic shots of extreme braking where somebody looks like they're hanging off the back of their wheel with kind of their butt almost scraping the ground. Well, that is good technique, and that is the way that you balance your wheel and be able to maximize the negative momentum and get yourself to stop quickly.
So, I mean, our position, I mean, the opposite would be like for a beginner that would just stay straight on his wheel and then just lean back. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
those, yeah, that's the natural, not the natural way, but that's how people would think, you need to stop. It's just lean back, where it's not that at all. It's
yeah.
this leaning back actually will cause your wheel to go into wobbles.
Yeah, and I think when you are just learning to ride, what I advise riders to do when you're just starting, keep your body as stiff as possible. When you're just getting started, because that's what your weight is really in your hips. And if your body is stiff, if your weight is in front or in back of the center line of the wheel, you will either go or you'll slow down. But as soon as you start to unlock the next level of skills, it's not about stiffening your body. It's really about bending your body and having the joints all be flexible enough to be able to do things like absorb impacts when you're accelerating, or be able to assume a seated position when you're braking, or for some of us, even using a hand to grab the front of our wheel under emergency braking to slow it down. So there's a number of techniques, all really important to learn.
Awesome. So wobbles, I
Yeah,
was in wobbles.
yeah,
How
yeah,
I think it took me about 500 miles
yeah,
to kind of um, get. I mean, I wouldn't say get rid, but yeah, get rid of wobbles. It took me about
yeah,
500 miles. For my first 500 miles, I
yeah,
was wobbling like crazy,
yeah.
and I think that's something that my advice is patience. But I don't know, maybe you have a different advice.
Yeah. So yeah, wobbles are one of those areas where everybody seems to have advice and everybody seems to have a solution to them. They're an almost inevitable part of the new rider experience. They're really a combination of a few things. First of all, when you're first riding, you do not have the strength in your muscle groups from your waist down and your ankles that you need to be able to safely control them. You just don't, because you've never done it before. It's something we all need to build up. It's something that happens at its own pace. That's one element of the wobble equation, is having the physical strength and dexterity to be able to control the wheel the way you need to. The second part of wobbles is fear. Wobbles are caused when our weight is behind the center line of the wheel and we apply braking force. The front of the wheel is then allowed to oscillate, and without force being applied to the front of the pedals, those oscillations can grow out of hand and eventually cause some real problems. The key to not experiencing wobbles is to maintain at all times, especially when you're braking, and this might sound counterintuitively, pressure on the front of your wheels.
Wow.
When your wheel, if you strictly put your, one thing you never want to do on an electric unicycle is to have both weight of both feet exclusively behind or below or in front of the center line. If you are putting both of your feet on the back of your heels and digging in with everything you have, the front of that wheel is out there with nothing to rein in that kind of oscillation. Similarly, if you have both of your toes on the front of your wheel and you're accelerating like nobody's business, guess what? You have no way to bring anything back when you get to that limit. And experienced riders will always have at least one of their feet in a ready position to be able to act as a seesaw, to keep that wheel in balance, to mitigate the kind of the oscillations that cause wobbles. The fact of the matter is, experienced riders get wobbles all the time, but they're so microscopic, and we clear them out from our riding by putting the weight in forward and just sometimes a carve motion. It becomes instinctive and we don't even think about it. So
Wow.
build those muscles, build those skills, and build your way up to the kind of speeds and braking situations that can cause you trouble with wobbles.
Awesome. That's that basically you explained. So the technique that I used that I finally figured out was put some my left foot. I just go on my tiptoe of my leg. As soon as I have wobble, I just tiptoe my
Yeah.
left foot, and then you just explained it. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
like,
it funny? We
yeah,
do things we don't know sometimes why, but that is experience. That is the experience. That is the
how I had
feel.
the explanation why
We
I.
are wired for balance, and given our opportunity, our human minds can conquer this. But sometimes we need a little bit of help, and I hope that's what I'm able to give here.
That's awesome. Well, Jesse, it's been an amazing time. We have almost an hour of talking, and sun is setting. So right now I'm in Florida, so that's why I'm not in Portland, but
Okay.
but we do need Pevra here, and the community is amazing. So the sun is about to set. I'm 3 hours away
Yes.
in front of you, but so I'm just gonna ask for a last word, and maybe remind the people about the Westwheel
Yeah.
and what and Pevra, and then I'm gonna say thank you so much. That was an amazing first episode for this
Thank you.
2022 Safety Week.
Thank
I
you.
will do it again next year. I think it's just the beginning, and then and yeah, those last 5 minutes are all yours.
No, thank you so much for having me today, for addressing this really important topic, for creating a platform for groups like Pevra to be able to spread a message of safety, legality, and inclusion. Um, I just want everyone who rides anything to hear this message loud and clear. Um, your safety and the safety of those around you is your most important responsibility when engaging these amazing devices that unlock so many experiences, that take us to new places, that bring us new friends. And some of the places that we don't want to go are the hospital, and some of the new friends that we don't want to have are nurses and medical professionals, just like you, Yoro, that keep us healthy in the event of something that goes wrong. So let's all do everything we can. Ride safe, ride safely for those around you, wear your safety gear, and please help to evangelize a safe and responsible approach towards the use of these PEVs so that we can all continue to do them and do them together and enjoy this silly little hobby that has changed so many lives for the better. So thank you again, Yor. Really appreciate the chance to do this, and look forward to coming back. We have so
Yeah,
much more to talk about, don't we?
yeah. Oh, we just scratched the surface. I think I mean we have that big list, but I think we just yeah. I want to thanks again Revride and Nate for sponsoring this event, and I'm gonna, I'm looking forward to have also all the participants that accepted my invitation. We're gonna have Jen. I think I just talked to Jen Crusher, so she says she's gonna give me some dates. I think she's gonna be on the show pretty soon, and that's exciting. But many more. I mean, I'm excited, and yeah, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, comment, and join Pevra, join Group Ride, teach a friend how to ride a EUC or a scooter, and see you on the next Group Ride.
That sounds great. And see you for Westwheel 5 in August.
Westwheel 5 in August, absolutely, in Portland.
Thanks again, Yoro. Take care. Be well.